Okay, just to recap, so the fringe is behaving, which it doesn't always do. We are talking about the super conjunction in Pisces between Neptune, Saturn, the North Node, Venus and Mercury, both retrograde in Pisces, and what this can potentially mean. And in my previous video, I was breaking down the kind of influences depicted by North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo, and we were still sort of going through North Node in Pisces and what it could entail. It's also about, it blurs lines, it creates a lot of subversion, so expect more false flags, more fake news, more confusing news. For example, what's going on with Trump and this leaked sort of chat group that was, it included a reporter from The Atlantic, which is an extremely kind of neoliberal, very anti-Trump kind of magazine that put all these globalist talking points. He was included in a group chat, and they were talking about the Houthis and Lebanon and bombing. And, basically J.D. Vance is now kind of copying on, why are we doing this? Why are we even getting involved with Yemen? Now, if you cast your mind back to 9/11, there were a whole lot of countries listed that they wanted regime change. Afghanistan, tick. Iran, tick. Libya, tick. Syria, tick. Yemen and Iran haven't been ticked yet, and that's why so many people say Trump is going to be pushed, whether he likes it or not, into this. It benefits basically Israel. The Yemenis are attacking Israeli ships because it doesn't affect Americans, can affect European trade in the Red Sea, but it's mainly Israeli ships, and we know that Iran back Hezbollah in Lebanon. So it's Israel who needs these countries to kind of be taken out. Now, I'm not sure if we would have. I've looked extensively at the stars. Would we have a big war with Iran? My opinion is it would fold very quickly. It would be no need for a big war if they did want to take that route, or perhaps just a little bit of regime change through internal pressure that they could exert in different ways, bit of a color revolution sort of thing. I don't think it would escalate into a big war, but that's a lot what that talk was about. And I think if we talk about the illusion, subversion, Trump came in almost shock and awe. He had the smorgasbord of radical stuff, Canada's the 51st state, take over Gaza, level it to the ground, build casinos. I don't quite said casinos, but bearing in mind he gets money from Miriam Abelson, who's got casinos in Las Vegas. I guess it's possible. Well, what was his other policies, like the tariffs, which America always was very protectionist 100 years ago, so it's not too radical. But end the Ukraine war quickly, sanctions here, cutting aid, Greenland. And yet everything's gone a bit quiet in a way. Nothing's really happened with Ukraine. We don't know what's going on with the ceasefire. In fact, we don't know what's going on with that whole war. Since Prigozhin was off the scene, supposedly killed in an air crash, and Wagner wasn't controlling the whole thing, it's all gone very, very quiet. Not a lot is happening. Some rusty tanks shooting at each other. People talk about horrendous death counts. Very difficult to confirm. We don't know. They call it a theatre of war. That's the phrase, the theatre of war. Well, maybe they're trying to tell us something, huh? Maybe it is all theatre. We don't really know. But anyhow, that's gone quiet. A lot of the stuff Trump's talking about has gone quiet. Now, bear in mind, he's doing this all through executive order. The courts are probably going to stop a lot of it. So it is a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing. The optics are sometimes good, but even the optics have got really bad right now. So that's what I mean about Pisces and Neptune. Everything's confusing. Nothing is what it seems. Lines are blurred. Allegiances are blurred. Now, I was just going to say, you probably saw on Twitter the interview with Musk's father where he says, Netanyahu was our best friend, like he was hanging out for a braai. I didn't exactly say that, but I'm interpolating there. All this. And we know that, when Netanyahu came to the US, he slept in Jared Kushner's bed. So we've got Musk. He's Musk's family's best friend. He's Trump's family's best friend. Is this a coincidence, or is this a sign of influence that will push us in the direction of, more regime change in Iran, particularly in Yemen? We wouldn't really know the difference, would we? Because it's kind of a failed state anyway. But interesting. So dissolution of political boundaries, countries' boundaries, borders. I think we all know about that one. Financial systems changing as well. But what is replacing all these things is unclear. It's very clear to us now something's coming to an end, but none of us know exactly what's going to replace it, including the financial system. It's all a case of morphing, right? So we also have, with North Node in Pisces, new political philosophies. Well, one we do have is terminal altruism. where the desire to help everyone who kind of wants a better life in the Western world could lead to a collapse where no one's better off as well. A lot of distrust, yes. I mean, people's distrust in the influences has also gone down. The whole alternate media has almost shattered into pieces, with them all snitching on each other, fighting against each other, competing really for ad revenue now rather than for meaningful change from the right. The left, like Galloway's party, quite probably cohesive with some of the people on the left, but that's another area where huge distrust has emerged, not only in conventional politicians, but in the politicians that kind of rose up as alternatives. We've lost trust in them as well. Definitely potential false flags. I mentioned a loss of identity control, increase in terrorism, or stuff that purports to be terrorism. I've got something to say about that. Shifts in global power, etc., and realizations, deeper levels of awareness. Okay, let's talk about what previously happened when Neptune was conjunct the North Node. And that happened this year, February the 7th. But although it's not going to happen again specifically, it is going to be empowered again through this April transit, right? So we need to have a look at that. Now, let's just see. The North Node is also fate and turning points in history. Major historical events often correlate with significant nodal conjunctions or movements like economic shifts, social movements, technological breakthroughs. Political leaders or movements that align with the North Node energy, in this case Pisces, will come to prominence. So we're expecting more of the collectivist, communist type, hippie type, more subversive coming, or it would say political systems similar to communism, which offer solutions to people who feel hopeless, who feel at the bottom rung, who feel outcast and despaired. More of those will rise to prominence, right? So political organizations or movements that purport to be champions for the underdog, the disaffected, the poor are more likely to rise to prominence, okay? Also a more kind of nanny state and that sort of thing. North Node in Pisces does favor Islam, whereas the South Node is in Virgo. Virgo is more representative of Christianity with personal responsibility. And just the Virgo themes were there at the inception of Christianity and very much connected along. I mean, there are Christian themes with Pisces in terms of sacrifice as well. So maybe the Christian themes of kind of sacrifice and loss could possibly be exacerbated by the North Node in Pisces. Emerging technologies, questionable. Okay, let's see. Now, the most recent conjunction, as I said, of Neptune in the North Node was Feb 7. 2025. What happened that day? Interesting. United States and South Africa relations. President Trump ordered a freeze on all foreign aid to South Africa, citing a South African law that allows land to be forcibly seized from white farmers. And he also called for the US to accept Afrikaner refugees to protect them from government-sponsored race discrimination. So South Africa shows up a lot, and I found that quite interesting. But who does that benefit? If South Africans leave their farms to go to America, it's a solution. They get away from violence. They get a shot at a new life. A lot of them don't want that. They want to fight for the land that their forefathers built, and they would see that as a capitulation in exactly the same way Palestinians would see that as a capitulation in leaving their land that they believe is theirs. So it's a very similar situation, because they also being offered, okay, you can leave, but you're not really going to come back, because when you come back, it's going to look like Las Vegas and you won't really be welcome because other people will be paying multi-million pounds for those properties. So it's similar. Will BlackRock be taking over those farms? Because we know here in the UK as well, we have BlackRock meeting with Starmer immediately afterwards, these policies on farmers with the inheritance tax, which is potentially penalizing that they would have to sell their farms. And of course, BlackRock are going to be waiting. They said it's Bill Gates, BlackRock, whatever. There is a war on farmers. And although Trump's policy, which is on the surface good, could be part of that war on farmers, I can see a part 3 coming.